Lupe Fiasco's debut album, Food and Liquor, was a classic album and represented a new subculture of hip-hop music. However, Lupe's sophomore album, Lupe Fiasco's The Cool, is arguably his best work to date. This album has so many classic tracks, excellent lyrics and wordplay, and such a deep and compelling album from almost all angles. This is a retrospective of Lupe's second album, Lupe Fiasco's The Cool. The Cool is undoubtedly the Lupe album that I've listened to the most. There's so much depth in the lyrics, and there's so much catchy and unforgettable songs, so much amazing imagery associated with this album as well. And Lupe not only expands his skill set in this album, but his appeal as well. Food and Liquor was appealing to this anti-authority culture, this skateboarder and nerd mixture, but The Cool seems to reach for darker tones, more emotional and personal storytelling, and constant parallels and double meanings within the songs. Let's start with the lead single, Superstar. Probably the most perfect combination of talents make up this song. Superstar is produced with Soundtrack, which I feel is the best producer Lupe has ever worked with. And this is lifted up by Matthew Santos's floaty, dreamlike vocals in this insanely catchy and memorable hook. Lupe's lyrics is what takes the song to new heights and from just a catchy pop rap song. What starts off as a song about Lupe's newfound fame seems to have connections to the character of Mike Young, which his album revolves around. Take these lines for example. And then it hit me, standing outside of heaven waiting for God to come and get me. I'm too uncouth, unschooled to the rules and too gumshoe, too much of a newcomer and too uncool. In here, he's referring to himself and the character of Mike Young. Stand outside of heaven waiting for God to come and get me is a reference to Michael Young being this character who dies and finds himself in purgatory, expecting to get into heaven. But thanks to his deeds in his past life, he's not accepted in. At the same time, Lupe references himself as a newcomer into the rap game, and him being not following the rules and him being uncool, which is a double reference to him not following a traditional rap image, as well as a reference to Mike Young believing he's the coolest. He makes another reference in the same verse to The Cool from Food and Liquor when he says, "Go back, whatever you do, you undo," referencing Mike Young coming back to life from that song. And then Lupe goes back to real life references in which he makes this overstated description of how bright the spotlights are and how overwhelming they are. But despite how blinding they are, he says most of us don't want it to fade, which is in reference to how superstardom can leave you blind, yet wanting more because it's so appealing. But then from a technical standpoint, the second verse is so sick. Go back and listen to the verse and listen to the words that Lupe puts emphasis on. Almost throughout the entire verse, every major rhyme has emphasis on the I sound, and he connects these rhymes through various middle and end lines, but it all flows together so effortlessly that if you wasn't paying attention to it, you would miss it. So let's talk a little bit how this album is a concept album. In a traditional sense, a concept album is an album in which takes the individual tracks to represent an overall theme or story. Now, every song in this album fits into this narrative, but there's a handful of songs that do. The concept of this album establishes is an expansion of the story explored in The Cool from Food and Liquor. In this song, a drug dealer comes back to life and goes back to the place where he was killed to confront his past. This character is named in this album as Michael Young. Several songs like The Coolest, The Die, Put You On Game, and Gotta Eat all take part of the story of Michael Young from various angles. Let's start with the most prevalent one to the story, The Coolest. First off, with this song, you hear a grave opening referencing Michael Young coming back from the grave from The Cool. However, The Coolest is actually a prequel story, establishing the life of Michael Young before his death. We get some clever wordplay with the lines, "Forgive my cool young history," which can be literally interpreted as Michael Young history. The whole first verse, Michael Young is talking about his love for this girl. This girl is a personification for the streets or the hood. Lupe raps about how the vices of being in the hood attracts Michael Young and how his love for the streets trumps everything in his life. Michael Young literally thinks that the hood will give him status, as he states, "The purpose of the scene, the obscene obsession for the bling, she will be my queen, I could be her king. Together, she will make me cool, and we will both rule." Lupe raps the second verse in relation to Michael Young giving himself completely to the streets. He references his older song, He Say, She Say, with the lines, "Younger, outstanding, achieving up-and-comers, the ones that had deadbeat daddies and well-to-do mamas, but not well enough to keep them from us. The ones that were fighting in class, who might not pass. Rap record pressured them to laugh at a life not fast." Aside from the nod of the song He Say, She Say, these lines also show the breakdown of not having a father figure in these young men's lives. Despite the moms trying to do their best for their child, the fatherless lifestyle makes them prime, achieving and up-and-comers to be taken to the streets. And that last line, rap record pressure to laugh at a life not fast, is a commentary on how rap pushed forward these notions of the streets and how the influence of the rap game pressures these young men into living fast and dangerous lifestyles. This isn't even the only references from the songs from the Food and Liquor either. When talking about Michael Young's baby mama, Lupe raps, "Do I love her? Said I don't know. Streets got my heart, game got my soul. One time missing sunshine will never hurt your soul." So in this section, the streets and the hood is literally asking Michael to choose between them and his family. Michael saying "one time missing sunshine" is a reference to the song Sunshine, which is a love song in which Lupe raps about his love being his sunshine. Him saying that "one time missing sunshine" is personifying the loss of his love for his girl. Then follows that with "hurt your soul," which is a reference to the song Hurt Me Soul, also from Food and Liquor. Michael Young then abandons his baby mama, stating, "You gave me a baby, but what about lately?" while going back to the streets because the streets gave him so much more. And through all of this, Lupe starts off the song with the line, "Lord, please have sympathy," and "I love the Lord," which shows Michael Young's struggle between his religion and what he has done. He constantly references God and religion throughout the whole song with lines like, "The Trinity, her and I Cain," which is a reference to the Holy Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, but replaces that with the streets, Michael Young, and cocaine. And pray to God that the flood subside, cause you gonna need a sub until he does reply, in reference to the 40 days and 40 nights of flooding and the second coming of Christ. And seek unholy grails like a fool, which references the Holy Grail and how people like Michael Young chases unholy grails like the vices that the streets provides. No heaven up above you, no hell underneath ye, and no one will receive thee. In reference to Michael Young being stuck in purgatory as referenced in Superstar. And said no tear when we're not here, and keep your faith as we chase the cool. Wrapping up this whole song basically how the hood and the streets and the game is a religion all in itself. And that's just one song. Then you have Gotta Eat, which goes through Michael Young's career as a drug dealer personified through some amazing food-related puns and wordplay. Then there's The Die, which explains how Michael Young was set up by his friend and had got him killed. Then that immediately follows Put You on Game, in which Lupe raps from the perspective of a gun and how guns has caused so much damage to lives, but yet is glorified and commercialized in everyday life, and how that gun caused the end of Michael Young's life. Lupe Fiasco's The Cool has a little more outside of the concept album. Lupe has some more classic tracks on this album like Paris Tokyo, Hip Hop Saved My Life, Dumb It Down, and Gold Watch. Dumb It Down demonstrates Lupe's skill as a lyricist. Dumb It Down is Lupe's answer to the critics of Food and Liquor due to his unconventional style of hip hop. This is primarily tackled in the hooks, in which Jim Stones questions Lupe's music with statements like, "You're going over your heads, Lou, dumb it down. They tell me they don't feel you, dumb it down. We ain't graduated from school, dumb it down. The big words ain't cool, dumb it down." Or, "You putting me to sleep, dumb it down. That's why you ain't popping in the streets, dumb it down. You ain't winning no awards, dumb it down. Robots and skateboards, dumb it down." Lupe responds to these criticisms with complex wordplay and flow. For example, in the first verse, Lupe's rhyming scheme has him rhyming words on unstressed beats and rhythms. On top of this, his rhymes are so close together that the actual rhyming flows through each line, giving him multiple rhymes per line. An example of this is in the lines, "I'm not a listener or a seer, so my windshield smear. Here you steer. I really shouldn't be behind this, clearly cause my blindness. The windshield is minstrel, the whole grill is roadkill, so trill and so sincere. Yeah, I'm both in there." He layers these rhymes with almost every other word so you get the stressed and unstressed beats of these rhymes. Then in terms of lyrical references, Lupe starts each verse with the song with the personification of the three wise monkeys. Lupe starts the first verse with, "I'm fearless, now hear this, I'm earless, and I'm peerless, which means I'm eyeless, which means I'm tearless, which means my iris resides where my ears is, which means I'm blinded," which is in reference to the wise monkey who sees no evil, who covers his eyes so that he won't see evil. This also references the wise monkey who hears no evil, as he raps about how he's earless and how his iris resides where his ears would be, making him blind and deaf. He carries this on to the beginning of the second verse, in which he raps, "And I'm mouthless, which means I'm soundless. Now as far as the hearing, I found it," in reference to the wise monkey who speaks no evil, in which Lupe finds his hearing back, but now he cannot speak. Which, with the proverb, the three wise monkeys, every monkey has something that the other can't do, and vice versa. Now, the ideals behind the three wise monkeys is that instead of dealing with whatever information head on, the monkeys decide to block out the information that is by forcing themselves not to consume that information. So if the monkey can't see, then they can't visualize what is in front of them. the monkey can't hear, then they can't hear the information being told to them. And if the monkey can't speak, then they can't respond to the information given to them. So in this sense, this can be viewed as two different ways. It can mean that Lupe's critics are the three wise monkeys stuck in their ways, not allowing Lupe's style to get to them and block him out. Or it can be viewed as Lupe literally blocking evil away from him to block out the critics of his work. Lupe then takes his idea one step further by stating with the third verse, "And I'm brainless," which means I'm headless, in which if he's brainless, then no information can be taken in at all. The whole ideal of the three wise monkeys is that even if one of them can't speak, then they still can hear or see. While the whole idea of them being brainless or headless means that none of these senses of speech, sight, or sound will be used. Lupe the storyteller returns several times as well in tracks like Hip Hop's to Save My Life, in which he raps about an up-and-coming, unsigned underground rapper trying to make a name for himself and get out of the hood, or Intruder Alert, in which Lupe raps about several small stories about people coming into terms with people having trust issues or moments in which an intruder enters their life and how they react. But also Lupe has a tinge of that indie rock and alternative style in his album as well. We see this in tracks like Streets on Fire, in which the whole song is about an uncontrollable virus that spreads and its impact on the world. In this song, everyone blames each other for the origin of this disease, and this is strengthened by a down-tempo, moody beat and Matthew Central's dreary lyrics and the defeated tone of voice. Lupe raps about this from perspectives of different groups, like the revolutionaries who blame the problems on society and the media, or the religious against the morally corrupt, or from the perspective of different social economic groups. This song basically shows how the impact of a worldwide disaster causes people to lose trust and the breakdown of society, and how fragile the establishments of government and societal norms. We also get another rock style track similar to the instrumental from Food and Liquor with Hello, Goodbye, Uncool. Lupe takes this one a little further into the rock style by working with Uncle, which gives the track a more independent rock and trip hop sound with these dark undertones and a progressive dynamic increase in distortion and edge. While I feel like this album was almost perfect, there are a few tracks that just don't hit well with me. Those being Fighters and Go Baby, which is unfortunate because they're at the tail end of the album. This is even worse because the two tracks before these are The Die and Put You On Game, which I feel would be a more impactful ending to the album as it ends the story of Michael Young and his demise. I also find Go Go Gadget and High Definition to be just okay tracks, nothing too remarkable or noteworthy. In the end, however, Lupe Fiasco's The Cool still stands as a classic and one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. The complexity of the lyrics, the amazing productions, the flow from track to track, and messages displayed, and the use of the concept of Michael Young's life and his circumstances makes this such an amazing product. The Cool still stands today as one of, if not the best, of Lupe Fiasco's studio albums. My favorite tracks are as follows: The Coolest, Superstar, Paris, Tokyo, Streets on Fire, Little Weapon, Gotta Eat, Dumb It Down, The Die, and Put You On Game. Thanks for watching. My name is Brian. This has been Sound Test.